So this is the latest film from Oscar-winning director Kathryn Bigelow, who won Best Director and Picture for The Hurt Locker in 2009. Also famously brought us Zero Dark 30 about the hunt and capture of Osama bin Laden, which was kind of a seminal film of the early the 2010s. And she brings us A House of Dynamite, the story of which it's a military political thriller, and a missile launch has been detected in the North American hemisphere. At first, they don't know if it's real. They think it could be a test. It could be a fluke. Could be a machine not acting right. It's eventually confirmed that it is in fact a real nuclear launch. Some country unknown, because they don't know where it was launched from, because it's been covered up basically. They don't know, but they know a nuclear missile is headed for the United States. They're not exactly sure where, but it is real. It is coming. And the movie show goes through the real life protocols of what happens in the Situation Room, in the White House, and these other places, and how little time there is to act. There's roughly 20 minutes from the launch of something like that until it makes impact, and that small amount of window is the amount of time people have to try and come together and make decisions about how to act, how to respond, if you're going to respond at all. Not Kathryn Bigelow. Rebecca Ferguson takes the lead in the first third of the movie. The movie's in 3 parts, and it kind of tells the story from different perspectives. She's in the Situation Room, and all this stuff looks really accurate. There's screens all over there, lots of security. She's the first one to get where this is detected from a radar station with where Anthony Ramos's character is strangely at. So then they have to react and say, okay, get the president on the line, get the Secretary of Defense, get these people. Well, this person's not out of commission. We'll get his deputy. So there are lots of video calls basically. And what do we do? And how do people react? And the story is told in, again, different, almost, people saying Rashomon as it's in 3 different perspectives. You get kind of the military perspective, the Situation Room, and then ultimately the president, the POTUS perspective as well. It's a thriller, lots to talk about. Zach, what do you think?
So I think a lot of people have been kind of disappointed by House of Dynamite. And I want to talk about why, because when this movie came out initially at like festivals, everybody's really excited. Kathryn Bigelow is a really tremendous director, and she's made some really great work, notably Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30 in 2012. But since then, it's been quiet. Her last movie before this was a movie called Detroit that came out in 2017 that I could not tell you anything about. And then she's been quiet. She did like a short film for Apple, and like otherwise it's been nothing. So now in 2025, we have a new Kathryn Bigelow film. She's 70 years old. She may not be making movies for a long time. It's hard to make movies. And this movie is a great example of the difficulties. Like House of Dynamite has a lot to do. It's got a number of settings. It's got a number of title cards that come up. It's based on work from a book from Noah Oppenheim, who is very dedicated to telling the story of these like systems that we kind of hope will be there when things go wrong, right? 50 and 60-year-old missile defense systems that the government operates that we just like kind of assume will spring into action when disaster is truly about to strike, right? And when a missile comes in and we see this, everybody's kind of calm at first and everybody's kind of quiet, but the movie is very dedicated to telling a story of people who are like not saying the quiet part out loud, that everything is going wrong. It's tension, and it's a high wire act. It's Quentin Tarantino said good suspense is like pulling a rubber band as tight as you can and just holding it. And through the first act of House of Dynamite, that rubber band is taut. The music is hot. Rebecca Ferguson's killing it. Things are going really wrong, right? Things are really bad. And then it takes a turn into Act 2 with something that seems like it's going to be exciting, but that ends up kind of starting to fall out of the sky. And by the time you get to Act 3, it's chunky and bad. And then Act 3 is kind of the worst part of the movie. Like that's really where it slows down and really where it gets not good. And that's a shame. And we don't really talk about spoilers here. We're not going to spoil where this movie goes, but like, man, this 3-act structure hurts it because it's just a repetition of the same events from a different perspective. And all that gas, all that momentum from Act 1 just stalls in Act 2. And by Act 3, it's a lead balloon. It just falls out of the sky.
Right. The first act is also my favorite. Rebecca Ferguson, always great. She's cooking and she's calm and collected in the face of what is essentially nuclear destruction or going to be. And it's very interesting to see the real life protocols because it's immediately, okay, confirm it. It's confirmed. Okay, get these 6 people on the line right now. Someone's indisposed. Get their deputy. Who are we talking to? They also start an evacuation, but only of certain people. There's an evacuation list and there's designated people that are on it, and it's not everyone. And like stuff like that, it's really thrilling because at one point, everyone who's left, like a few people leave the situation room because they're on the evacuation list. Everyone else has to just stay, and they do what's called a death list, and they just say, put your name and social security number on here, and we're collecting all for if there's a strike, a nuclear strike here as well. So some of that stuff, like the tension in that first act is so good. And, just we're panicking, we're getting people on the phone, we're getting different opinions. And, you have the military general saying, we have to strike now, we got to strike fast, got to strike first, got to show strength. You got other diplomats saying, no, let's wait, let's confirm, let's see if we can find out who launched it. What does the POTUS say? And we can't get the president on the line. Like there's this whole delay. First act is great. It's amazing. The second act, again, we get a different perspective, and it starts a little bit further up. We're not starting at the very beginning. And then Act 3, it just slams on the brakes. We get the presidential perspective, and it starts basically back at the beginning. And there's just a really long section before we get caught up, and all the tension that we have in that first act is just gone. And it's supposed to kind of still be there, you can tell, but it just isn't, and it just really doesn't work. So I said this would work great as a short film. Like that first 40 minutes is cooking. First half is cooking, and then it starts to really drag.
Yeah, like it is Kathryn Bigelow firing on all cylinders. And it's such a shame, too, because it starts off so strong. You're so confident going into Act 2. And the title cards are effective. Like the movie bounces around a lot. We have a lot of locations. We got a big cast. I'll hit them real quick, just some of them that I took down. Rebecca Ferguson works in the White House Situation Room. Anthony Ramos is a military operator out in Alaska. Tracy Letts is General Brady, who's running the military, mostly in Act 2 is when we see him. Jason Clarke is Rebecca Ferguson's boss in Situation Room. We got Greta Lee is in this movie. Jared Harris is in this movie as Secretary of Defense Baker. Idris Elba is in this movie in a very odd casting choice that I'll talk about here in a second. And we got a lot of locations, right? Yeah, we're in Alaska, we're in Nevada, we're in the White House, we're at FEMA, we're in Chicago, like we're wherever the president is. We're bouncing around. We're in Russia at one point. Like we're bouncing around, and Kathryn Bigelow's moving us all over the board. Her movies are typically very lofty in theme, right? Especially of the military-industrial complex. Hurt Locker is a lot about 9/11, and it's a lot about this response to war and violence from like a man who has to defuse bombs, right? Jeremy Renner's character. Zero Dark 30 is about like the quietude and the struggle of like classified information, like regarding government operations, starring Chris Hemsworth, but this is like the pinnacle of that, right? Like it's nuclear war we were talking about, the end of the world, global thermonuclear war. Like it is huge. And she addresses this in very lofty fashion. Like we move fast, it's kinetic, it's shot like Succession, it's shot a little like The Office, right? Handheld documentary style, very grounded. Our camera operators are doing like crash zooms on stuff. So when the sign changes from DEFCON 5 to DEFCON 2, it's like a big zoom. We're lingering on like this toy dinosaur that Rebecca Ferguson's kid gave her. And these title cards are really lofty too. I wrote them down. Inclination is flattening, Act 1. Act 2, hitting a bullet with a bullet. Very exciting. And number 3,
great line.
A house filled with dynamite, right? But we get almost all the events in Act 1. Everything big happens in Act 1. And Act 2 is just
cut it after
3,
that.
It's just a retread. Yeah. And by the time you get to 3, you've seen it twice already. And it's like, no, like you have to give us more. And then, not to talk too much about it, but the ending is a flat out crash to credits that was frustrating for me, that reportedly people were like laughing at when this movie premiered because they couldn't believe it's how the movie ends. Like it's very odd. The structure hurts it.
So I did want to talk about the things that do work. I think this movie is edited very sharply because it is cutting all around. Again, different characters, different locations. It's got to keep you oriented. They've recreated the sets of these places. Like they're obviously not going to let you film inside the Situation Room and other places. And again, every section seems very authentic. They're using a bunch of military jargon. They're not explaining anything. The people in the room know all these terms, are familiar. And you have regular military people who man the radar stuff and the missile silos, and then you have these kind of more seasoned officers that are working at like DEFCON and the Secretary of Defense, and these big conversations. That stuff again, and it's done so well in the first act and a half or so. That's probably one of the strengths. Like again, there's so much energy, and it has to keep you oriented with lots of places, and then it just starts to kind of go on. It's too long. 90 minutes it might have worked, but it's nearly a full 2 hours.
Yeah, and I also really like the structure around central communication in the film. Like a lot of it is largely in like effectively a Zoom call, a large conference call that we're in. And like one character is in his office and is like the deputy NSA chief and has to go like literally running on foot. He's like on mobile versus like Tracy Letts, who's like in the military industrial complex. And he's like, sir, we have to fire right now. We don't get a choice. All right, it is what it is. Like stop overthinking it. You get the president who's on the move, like, and is at an event when he hears about this in a very like kind of almost like Bush 9/11 thing where like the guy's like whispering in his ear, like, sir, something really bad's happened. We gotta get out of here. You're reading the kindergartners. Rebecca Ferguson is in the Situation Room, like, and the like ability to keep us in track over the course of that call and have characters say something on one line in act one, and then actually you see them say it on the other side in act two is cool. Like that central like plot device keeps us moving forward. And that's kind of like the churn of the drama in the movie. You have a character who has to talk to a representative for Russia as representing the United States and the president, like unexpectedly, because the president can't make the call. You have another character who's like trying desperately, like when he finds out where the bomb is headed, he like calls a loved one, and like you have a very like sincere phone call where he like says, hey, I love you. And you don't actually find out whether or not his loved one lives in the city it's going to or not. They don't say. Like you get this like odd suspense of communication. And interestingly, like even like the movie opens with Anthony Ramos taking a call from assumedly a girlfriend or somebody he's in a relationship with, who hangs up on him halfway through the call. Like communication is rendered ineffective. And that is the ending of like something, it's the beginning of something larger in the movie. And like, I think that's a really big theme. The cast is exceptional. Like you've got a lot working here. Like it's just this structure, this 3-act split just breaks it. Like it breaks the movie over its knee.
It does. Also, some of our characters, I heard this explained well. You're putting a hat on a hat, where, like Greta Lee's character is at the Gettysburg battle reenactment.
She says 50,000 deaths in 3 days at the Gettysburg reenactment. She says, "Yeah, I remember."
Yeah, look at us destroying ourselves. This is a giant
gosh,
metaphor.
Look at the country falling apart. Yeah, it's
So there's a kind of a lot of that stuff. Again, when we finally get to Idris Elba, he's doing this like basketball photo shoot with the Liberty, and Angel Reese is there, which I thought was cool. But then like it just goes on for too long. I was like, why are we here for 15 minutes? So there's just a lot of strange writing choices. I thought this was based on a book. It's not. It's just kind of an original idea written by Noah Oppenheim. But yeah, it just, like I said, brilliant in that first act and a half, and then just really falls apart in the last half. Very strange.
And the third act, I think, is the worst. It really falls apart with Elba. Like, first off, like the president is very cleverly blacked out in the Zoom call in the first two segments. Like you don't see him. His screen, his camera's turned off. You can just hear him. So you're watching the movie, and every once in a while, I cut to the president on Zoom, and there's just nothing there. And you know, like, okay, we got to find out where the leader of the free world is here. Like the guy who has to make this decision. Where is he? Why isn't he on camera? Like, why isn't he seemingly taking this serious? You know? And then we finally get it. And when you see him on camera, for a moment, I had flashback to watching like Heads of State a few months ago on Amazon Prime, because it's Idris Elba in a suit walking around the Oval Office. And then I realized, oh no, in that movie, he was the British Prime Minister. Here, he's playing the American president. And like Idris Elba can do an American accent pretty good. He did The Wire, but this isn't it. He's doing this accent that isn't quite on. And it's like, I'm just not convinced you're not Idris Elba. And like that whole third segment, he's on the move. So it's like him in a car and then him on a plane. So it's all shot real like mid. And he's got this one guy with him who I think is interesting. It's this a military man who's clad in all white. He's got his honors on. and he's got like the nuclear football stuff. Here's exactly what you do, sir. You got to read this and do that. And like, he's kind of this like angel devil on the shoulder character. Like he's representative of like death and destruction, but he's like clad in all white. Like, I see the thematic interest of that. It's just shot kind of poorly. And because we've seen these events twice, by act 3, you don't care. Like, you're like checking your watch. It's such a bummer. It's such a bummer because it starts so strong.
We also have a score by Volker Bertelmann, who did the score famously for Conclave, and then before that, All Quiet on the Western Front. This score is kind of a mix of both of those.
Yeah.
I was a little bit disappointed because it wasn't anything new. I was like, oh, this is like the Conclave score, and then a little bit later, it's a little bit like All Quiet on the Western Front. But he's clearly just going to be one of those guys that Netflix works with. So unfortunately, not great. Like, the score works. I just wish it was different.
I know we got to wrap it up. We're running long, but it's funny. I did not know that's who did the score, but I was thinking about it because it's very dynamic, big strings, very dramatic. Then when you said it's the guy who Conclave Whole Squad, I was like, yeah, of course. I watched Conclave just like a month ago. Like, of course it's them. Like, great score. No complaints. Little, I don't know, samey. You just hear the same repeats because it's like the film told 3 different ways. It's like Run Lola Run or something. Any other thoughts or recommendations, Andy?
I think I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend A House of Dynamite?
I would recommend like half this movie. The first act is brilliant, and literally you could just stop it after that. The concept doesn't work for the full time. It's too long. It doesn't know where to go in the second half. The performances, they're up and down. Rebecca Ferguson is so good. She's not great with accents either. She also doesn't care. She's like, they still give me the part. So save it. It's on streaming already if you're watching on Netflix. If you're interested in like military, political thrillers, it's definitely that. First act is brilliant. So if you're interested, it's on streaming.
Yeah, if you're into like military sort of films like this, like films with like big consequences that talk about like big global problems, you're a Kathryn Bigelow fan, give it a shot. Outside of that, man, it feels a little like a skip. Like, I just think it kind of falls apart in act 3. Like, it's a great start. It's a really great open that will probably carry you through to the end, but that leads to one of the most baffling endings of the year. Really strange movie here. I hope Bigelow makes something else. I'm looking forward to seeing what she does next. Hopefully she does something next.